Alex Debogorski wasn't just another truck driver on Ice Road Truckers. He was its heart, its soul, and the reason millions of viewers fell in love with the show. From his first moments on screen, he became a fan favorite, a larger-than-life personality with the laughter, the beard, the cowboy hat, and the fearlessness that defined the ice roads of Canada. But behind the tough grin and booming voice, Alex carried a lifetime of battles, personal losses, health scares, career setbacks, and private tragedies that never made it to television. For Alex, the road wasn't just ice and danger, it was survival. And as the years went on, the tragedies only became heavier, more personal, and more heartbreaking. This is the story of Alex Debogorski, the man viewers thought they knew, and the painful truth that shows how much he endured when the cameras stopped rolling. The man before the fame. Long before millions knew him, Alex was already a legend in Yellowknife. He had driven every kind of road a truck could face: frozen lakes, blizzards, isolated mining routes, and miles of wilderness where one mistake could mean death. He wasn't born into comfort. Alex worked for everything he had. He grew up in a family that struggled financially, and even as a child, he learned the meaning of hard labor. The ice became his teacher, the weather became his competitor, and survival became his daily lifestyle. Driving the ice wasn't a job for Alex, it was a way of life. A family man with a heavy responsibility. People saw Alex as fearless on ice road truckers, but very few knew the weight he carried at home. Alex wasn't just a husband and father, he was the backbone of a family of 11 children. Feeding, clothing, and providing for that many children wasn't easy. Every mile he drove on dangerous ice roads was another chance to make sure his family had what they needed. For Alex, trucking was never just about money. It was about responsibility, and responsibility came with pressure. Many nights, while viewers saw him laughing on TV, Alex would go home exhausted, worried about bills, work, and whether he would make it through another winter alive. Ice road trucking, a daily fight with death. Most people saw Ice Road Truckers as entertainment, a dramatic reality show with cold weather and big personalities. But for Alex, and drivers like him, every mile was real danger. The ice could crack, an axle could snap, a whiteout could blind a driver instantly. Weight, pressure, speed, temperature, every detail mattered. Alex wasn't reckless. He was experienced. He knew the road better than anyone. But even the best ice road drivers could never escape the truth. On the ice, the road decides who gets home, becoming the star of the show. When the History Channel launched Ice Road Truckers, Alex didn't expect fame. He was just being himself, a hard-working driver with a big laugh, sharp opinions, and a fearless approach to the job. But audiences connected to him instantly. He wasn't Hollywood. He wasn't polished. He wasn't scripted. He was real. Alex told stories the way a grandfather would tell them around a fireplace, honest, humorous, and sometimes filled with wild adventure. Viewers could sense that he had lived through every word he said. His fan mail would soon fill boxes. People stopped him in the street. Millions tuned in because Alex was on screen. But with fame came something else: pressure, judgment, and a spotlight that exposed more of Alex's struggles than ever before. The first major tragedies strike as the show grew. Life behind the scenes began to take painful turns. The first tragedies weren't injuries, lawsuits, or TV drama. They were deeply personal. Over the years, Alex lost multiple close friends and fellow drivers on the ice. Men he had known for decades. People he had eaten with, laughed with, and worked alongside. Some froze in their trucks. Some fell through the ice. Some simply never returned. To viewers, these were statistics. To Alex, they were brothers. Every loss changed him. Friends would tell him they could see it in his eyes, a heaviness that didn't go away. The ice road takes lives slowly, and Alex had been watching it happen his entire career. A dangerous job, and a body breaking down. Fans noticed it on the show. As seasons passed, Alex looked more tired. His movements were slower. His face showed the toll of decades of brutal work. And eventually, it became undeniable. Alex's health was failing. Years of cold exposure, stress, grueling work hours, and sleepless nights began to break him down. He experienced chronic pain-breathing issues, serious back and joint problems, high physical deterioration. The body wasn't meant to survive what Alex had put it through. But here's what made it worse. Alex had a habit. Whenever he got sick, whenever he felt pain, whenever his body warned him to stop, he ignored it. Because in his mind, a father of 11 could not afford to fall apart. The heart scare that changed everything then came one of the darkest moments of Alex Debogorski's life. A severe heart problem that forced him off the ice and into the hospital. Doctors told him the simple truth. If he didn't slow down, if he didn't take care of himself, if he didn't step back, he could die on the road. For the first time in decades, Alex couldn't drive. He was forced to watch from the sidelines as others took the jobs that had fed his family for years. Fans didn't see the worst of it, but privately, Alex faced a terrifying question. Who am I if I can't drive anymore? For a man whose entire identity was built on the road, the fear was crushing. It wasn't just his career at risk. It was his purpose. The emotional burden no one. Even when he returned to the show, Alex was never quite the same. He still smiled, still joked, still shared stories. But the emotional weight was there. The pressures of supporting a large family, losing friends, fading health, and the fear of being replaced all lived behind his laughter. And while fans adored him, the industry itself began to change. Younger drivers were coming in. TV producers were pushing for more drama. The old school generation was fading. Alex was watching his world disappear in front of him. A lifetime of strength, but cracks begin to show. People knew Alex as the tough guy, the survivor, the man who could conquer any ice road. But the truth was much sadder. His life had become a battle on multiple fronts: physical pain, grief, health, decline, pressure to provide a changing industry, and the fear that the end was coming. Alex Debogorski was a warrior, but even warriors can bleed. Despite his reputation as the fearless ice road veteran, Alex's life was entering a chapter darker than anything viewers had ever seen. The combination of physical exhaustion, emotional loss, and family pressures began to take a heavier toll than even he could handle. In 2015, the world got a glimpse of Alex's vulnerability. Behind the cameras, Alex faced the passing of one of his closest friends, a fellow driver who had been with him through countless ice storms, near-death experiences, and triumphs on the frozen roads. This loss hit Alex harder than any ice storm or vehicle breakdown could. The grief was private, deep, and all-consuming. It was a reminder that the ice roads took more than trucks and cargo. They took pieces of his heart every time a friend didn't return. For Alex, coping with grief while continuing to provide for his family and remain on television was an emotional balancing act. Fans would never see him break down on camera, but in private, he often found himself sitting alone in the cabin of his truck, staring out at the endless white horizon, questioning how many more winters he could survive. The pressure of fame versus reality. As ice road truckers gained international fame, the pressure mounted. While Alex's iconic persona of the jovial, larger-than-life driver remained intact on-screen, off-screen, the realities were harsh. The producers demanded entertainment. Fans demanded excitement. And Alex demanded of himself the same courage and endurance that had made him famous. But he was human, and humans have limits. He had to contend with the expectation to perform extreme stunts for the cameras, the physical toll of long hours on ice, the constant worry for his family back home, and the psychological strain of knowing each trip could be his last. No amount of fame could shield him from the dangerous truth: the ice does not care who you are. Health challenges multiply. By the late 2010s, Alex's health began to show the cumulative effects of decades on the ice. While he still drove with courage, his body had begun sending warning signals he could no longer ignore. He experienced severe joint and back pain, increasing cardiovascular issues, exhaustion that sleep could not cure. Medical professionals warned him continuing at the same pace could be life-threatening, but stepping back meant losing income, visibility, and a sense of purpose. Alex was caught between a rock and a hard place, and it was slowly eroding the confident, vibrant persona fans love. Even with these warnings, he continued working, partly out of love for his craft, partly out of responsibility to his large family. But each mile on the ice was no longer just a job. It was a gamble with his life. The loss of fellow ice road truckers legends. Perhaps one of the hardest blows came with the passing of multiple veteran ice road drivers who had been Alex's colleagues and friends for decades. The television audience might only see brief moments of sadness or tributes, but the real grief was profound and constant. For Alex, each loss was a reminder that survival was temporary. Each empty chair at the ice road table weighed heavily on him. Over the years, he had watched the community he loved be decimated by accidents, illness, and age. And with each tragedy, the sense of isolation deepened. The ice roads, once full of camaraderie and shared victories, were now reminders of mortality. The emotional toll on family life. While fans focused on Alex as a TV personality, his family bore the invisible burden of his dangerous career. His 11 children, all growing up in an environment that demanded resilience, watched as their father faced life-threatening conditions season after season. They also felt the emotional weight when friends and colleagues perished in accidents. Alex often spoke privately about the anxiety of leaving the ice. Every winter, as he prepared to drive hundreds of miles over frozen lakes and rivers, he wondered if he would see his children again. And while he remained stoic for the cameras, the nights at home told a different story, one of worry, sleeplessness, and unspoken fear. The show changes, and so does Alex. By the mid-2010s, Ice Road Truckers itself began to change. New cast members arrived, younger drivers eager to make a name for themselves. The production demanded more drama, more stunts, more spectacle. While Alex's reputation was untouchable, he felt the pressure to adapt to a format that sometimes clashed with his experience and safety instincts. He was no longer just a driver, he was a performer, a reality TV figure, and a symbol of the ice road legend. The balance between authenticity and entertainment became increasingly difficult. Alex often admitted in interviews that the cameras sometimes made him feel exposed, vulnerable, and pressured to push beyond safe limits. The 2017 health crisis. The year 2017 marked a critical turning point. Alex suffered a major health scare that forced him to step away from the ice for an extended period. Doctors diagnosed him with a combination of cardiovascular strain and chronic joint damage, warning that returning to the ice immediately could be fatal. For Alex, the diagnosis was devastating. He had survived decades of near-death experiences on ice, yet now his own body seemed to betray him. The man who had conquered frozen rivers, blizzards, and treacherous roads was suddenly faced with the possibility of permanent retirement. His identity, so deeply entwined with ice road trucking, was threatened. Alex struggled with depression, feelings of inadequacy, and the anxiety of losing the one thing that had defined his life for decades. A fan base in mourning while Alex's fans adored him. They were largely unaware of the depth of his struggles. Social media posts, interviews, and fan letters poured in, celebrating his bravery and humor. But behind the screen, Alex dealt with grief, physical pain, and the burden of personal loss. Each tribute from fans was a double-edged sword. It warmed his heart, but also reminded him of what he might soon have to leave behind: his career, his legacy, and his passion. The psychological weight of the ice long-term exposure to danger and death has profound psychological effects. Alex, like many ice road drivers, experienced symptoms of chronic stress, anxiety, and survivor's guilt. Each time a fellow driver didn't make it back, Alex questioned why he survived. Each season, each mile, each frozen lake was a reminder that life was fragile. Despite this, he continued. He continued to smile, to joke, to entertain. But privately, the toll was heavy. His resilience was no longer just physical, it was emotional, mental, and spiritual. The ice had taken more than friends and colleagues. It had begun to take pieces of Alex himself. Even as Alex continued to brave the ice roads, personal tragedy struck in ways that the cameras never showed. Over the years, he endured the loss of several family members, including distant relatives and close cousins who had been part of his life since childhood. These losses were compounded by his already demanding lifestyle, leaving him emotionally exhausted. Fans often saw Alex as indestructible, a larger-than-life figure with endless energy and charm. But reality painted a different picture. Behind the beard, hat, and laughter, he wrestled with grief and a profound sense of vulnerability. Every loss became a reminder that life was fragile, and that no amount of toughness could shield him from the pain of losing loved ones. The emotional strain of being a public figure. Reality TV fame can be unforgiving, and Alex quickly discovered that public admiration comes with hidden costs. While millions adored his humor and bravery, others were quick to critique, criticize, and speculate about his personal life. For Alex, navigating this scrutiny while dealing with the deaths of friends and family created immense emotional strain. The once carefree driver, who had laughed in the face of blizzards and frozen lakes, now had to confront the harsh realities of fame. Social media attacks, online rumors, and invasive fan speculation often left him feeling exposed and unprotected. It was a stark contrast to the confident, jovial persona fans loved on screen. Health challenges worsen. By 2018, Alex's health had begun to deteriorate more visibly. Years of cold exposure, heavy lifting, and long hours in extreme conditions had taken a severe toll on his body. Chronic joint pain, respiratory issues, and cardiovascular concerns became daily battles. Despite his legendary resilience, his body began sending warning signals that could no longer be ignored. Doctors repeatedly advised him to reduce his workload or even consider retirement for the sake of his health. For Alex, this was not just a practical recommendation, It was a life-altering challenge. The man whose identity was built on conquering ice roads now faced the terrifying reality that he might no longer be able to drive safely. The struggle between duty and survival. Alex's identity was inseparable from his career. He had spent decades on the ice, facing dangers that most people couldn't even imagine. Stepping away from driving wasn't simply about rest, it meant redefining who he was. He feared losing his sense of purpose and letting down the fans who had adored him for years. Yet, staying on the ice posed a real threat to his life. Every mile he drove was a gamble, a delicate balance between duty and survival. His internal struggle became a constant companion, a shadow looming over every decision, every trip, and every season. Loss of friends and colleagues. The ice roads claimed more than just Alex's health. They claimed friends, colleagues, and mentors who had been with him through thick and thin. Over time, he watched his community shrink, and the camaraderie that had defined his career slowly eroded. Each death was a painful reminder that survival was not guaranteed. Alex began to feel isolated, even among his peers. The ice, once a place of adventure and brotherhood, now served as a haunting reminder of mortality. These losses were never fully captured on camera, leaving Alex to process the grief alone. In the solitude of his cabin and the frozen expanse of the northern highways. Financial pressure and family responsibility. Even as he battled declining health and personal grief, Alex remained responsible for supporting his large family. The financial pressure of raising 11 children, combined with medical expenses and living costs, added yet another layer of stress. While some might have retired, Alex felt an obligation to continue working, to provide, to protect, and to ensure his family's future. This dual burden, personal health risks and family responsibility, created an almost unbearable strain. It was a daily challenge, one that pushed him to the brink emotionally and physically. Yet, despite it all, he continued to face the ice with the same bravery that had made him a legend. The emotional isolation of fame, while glamorous on the surface, brought an unexpected form of isolation. Alex found that viewers adored him for his courage, humor, and stories, but few truly understood the depth of his struggles. While the world saw the strong, fearless driver, only a handful of close friends and family were aware of the emotional weight he carried. He often felt a sense of loneliness, even when surrounded by fans and colleagues. The fame that once seemed like a gift became a mirror, reflecting not just admiration, but also expectations, judgment, and misunderstanding. For Alex, the emotional isolation was as challenging as the physical dangers of the ice roads. The decline of the ice road truckers era. By the late 2010s, the landscape of ice road truckers was changing. New drivers, younger and often less experienced, were introduced to increase drama and ratings. The show's focus shifted from genuine ice road challenges to staged competitions and scripted conflicts. For Alex, this was bittersweet. On one hand, he understood the realities of television and the need to evolve the show. On the other hand, he saw the camaraderie and authenticity of the earlier seasons slipping away. His role, once central, now felt partly ceremonial. The pressures of remaining relevant in a changing television environment added yet another layer to his emotional burden. Mental health struggles. The combination of personal loss, declining health, family responsibility, and public scrutiny led to a significant toll on Alex's mental health. While he rarely spoke openly about it, Those close to him noted periods of depression and anxiety. The man who had faced blizzards, ice storms, and near-death experiences seemed, at times, to be fighting an even harder battle, one within his own mind. This struggle was compounded by the relentless cycle of seasons. Every winter, Alex returned to the ice, facing danger not only from the environment, but also from the emotional weight he carried. His courage remained, but it was tempered by fatigue, grief, and the understanding that life was fleeting. The message behind the tragedy. Through all these challenges, Alex continued to inspire. His story serves as a powerful reminder that courage is not the absence of fear or suffering, but the ability to continue in spite of it. Alex's life teaches us that the bravest people are often those who carry invisible burdens, who face danger daily, and who continue to provide for others even when they are in pain themselves. The tragedy of Alex Debogorski is not just about accidents or illnesses. It is about the relentless march of life, the toll of responsibility, and the silent battles that millions of viewers never saw. As Alex entered his later years, the ice roads remained both a calling and a danger. Each winter season reminded him of the risks he had faced all his life, and yet he returned because that was who he was, a man defined by resilience, adventure, and responsibility. However, the physical toll of decades of driving was undeniable. His joints ached constantly. Every frost-bitten fingertip, every cold-soaked night in the cabin, every near accident had left its mark. Despite this, Alex's love for the ice never waned. The road was part of him, inseparable from his identity. But with age, the risks increased. Fans cheered for his bravery on screen, but behind the camera, every mile became more dangerous. Alex was acutely aware that one misstep could end his journey forever. The ongoing family challenges. Even in his later years, Alex remained committed to his family, supporting 11 children through adulthood. College and careers was no small task. His financial responsibilities and emotional support for his loved ones never ceased. This dedication added an invisible pressure. Alex often confessed privately that the worry for his family sometimes outweighed his own health concerns. Each season on the ice was a balancing act, earn enough to provide while trying not to break his body or spirit. His story reflects a deeper tragedy than any accident, a man continually pushing his limits, not for fame or glory, but for the ones he loved most. The emotional legacy of loss. Over time, Alex faced repeated personal losses. Friends, colleagues, and family members continued to pass away. Each loss was a stark reminder of life's fragility, and with every tragedy, the weight on Alex's heart grew heavier. Yet, despite his grief, Alex remained outwardly jovial and approachable. He laughed for the cameras, joked with his fellow drivers, and shared stories that entertained millions. This duality, public cheerfulness masking private sorrow, made him all the more remarkable. He was a man who carried the world's expectations on one shoulder and his personal grief on the other. Health battles reach a critical point. By 2019, Alex's health reached a critical point. The years of extreme conditions, relentless work, and exposure to life-threatening situations had left lasting damage. Chronic back pain, cardiovascular concerns, and respiratory problems plagued him. Medical professionals repeatedly urged him to retire permanently, warning that continued ice road driving could be fatal. Alex faced a choice many of us could not imagine: step away from the work he loved and define his life differently, or risk everything for the passion and responsibility that had guided him for decades. True to form, Alex often chose the ice, knowing that every mile could be his last. The Ice Road Truckers community reacts. The passing of fellow drivers and the challenges Alex faced did not go unnoticed. Fans and colleagues alike admired his tenacity. The Ice Road trucking community recognized that Alex was not just a performer, he was a symbol of endurance, courage, and authenticity. Tributes poured in from around the world whenever he shared personal stories or health updates. Fans appreciated not only his on-screen persona, but also the reality behind it. A man who had survived decades of extreme conditions while maintaining his humanity. Reflections on a legendary career. Looking back, Alex Debogorski's career was one of both triumph and tragedy. On one hand, he achieved international fame, entertained millions, and became a beloved television personality. On the other, his life was marked by personal loss, dangerous work, declining health, and the constant weight of responsibility. The tragedy of Alex's story is not limited to accidents or illness. It is the cumulative effect of decades of relentless work, emotional strain, grief, and the physical and mental toll of living life on the edge. This is the reality behind the legend, the life viewers admired but only partially understood. The hidden struggles behind the smile for fans. Alex's laughter and charm may have seemed effortless. Yet, behind that smile was a man who faced enormous challenges every single day. Every winter season, every ice storm, every frozen highway was a reminder of mortality. Every friend lost, every health scare, every sleepless night compounded the burden he carried. Despite all of this, Alex remained a symbol of resilience. His life is a testament to the human spirit, demonstrating that courage is not just about facing danger. It is also about enduring grief, loss, and physical limitations while continuing to live fully. The legacy of Alex Debogorsk. Alex's legacy extends far beyond Ice Road Truckers. He inspired a generation of viewers to respect the courage of ice road drivers, to understand the realities of life in extreme conditions, and to appreciate the hidden struggles that people endure silently. His story is one of dedication, bravery, and sacrifice. It reminds us that behind every larger-than-life figure is a human being grappling with fear, pain, and loss, yet finding a way to keep moving forward. Alex's influence will be felt for decades, through television, through the people he inspired, and through the stories that continue to honor his life and career. A bittersweet farewell. As we reflect on Alex Debogorski's journey, it becomes clear that his story is not only about tragedy, but also about resilience and love. The ice roads took a lot from him, friends, health, and time, but they also gave him a platform to inspire, entertain, and teach valuable life lessons. Fans may remember him for the humor, the daring drives, and the iconic cowboy hat. But those who truly understand his journey will remember the man who faced unimaginable challenges with courage, who grieved privately, yet laughed publicly, and who carried responsibility for his family and community even when it cost him dearly. Conclusion. The tragedy of Alex Debogorski is ongoing. Even as he continues to inspire fans worldwide, the weight of decades of physical danger, emotional loss, and personal sacrifice remains a sobering reminder of the cost of a life lived on the edge. He is more than a TV personality. He is a legend of endurance, a symbol of resilience, and a man whose story continues to touch hearts around the world. In the end, the sadness is tempered by respect and admiration. Alex Debogorski faced unimaginable challenges, yet he kept moving forward, mile after mile, season after season. His story reminds us that true courage is not measured by fame or accolades, but by the ability to endure, survive, and inspire in the face of life's harshest realities.